Good morning or good afternoon, first graders, depending on when you're doing your e-learning. Today for our read aloud, 3 Adventures on Deckaroo Drive, we are on chapter 4 of Where Are You Going, Baby Lincoln? And when we stopped reading yesterday, Baby Lincoln had just gotten on the bus. She was still feeling nervous about her journey, and we're going to see what happens today on her bus ride. Chapter 4, follow along with us if you have a copy of this text. Seat taken, said a man wearing a gigantic fur hat. The hat was so enormous and so furry that at first glance, Baby mistook the man for a bear. It is not taken, said Baby. Thank you very much, said the man. He sat down next to Baby. Head allergies, he said. He pointed at his fur hat with an index finger. I beg your pardon, but the hat must remain. Certainly, said Baby. The man in the fur hat got out a newspaper. He skipped over the news and the sports and the opinions and went directly to the comics. Eugenia said that the comics were a spectacular waste of time. Each morning she removed them from the paper as a protest against their pointlessness. Now I really feel like that kind of tells us something about Baby Lincoln and Eugenia's relationship. Like Baby Lincoln would think that the comics are funny, but Eugenia just thinks that they're a huge waste of time. The man in the fur hat followed each word of the comics with one enormous finger. He laughed softly as he read. Good for the head allergies, the man said to Baby when he saw her staring at him. I beg your pardon, said Baby. Laughing, said the man, clears the sinuses and the soul in a very satisfying way. I see, said Baby. Thank you. The man rustled the pages of the paper. He laughed some more, and then he folded the paper carefully and took out a handkerchief and blew his nose for what seemed like a very long time. He turned to Baby. Did you bring something to read? I brought my library book, said Baby. It is a mystery entitled The Inimitable Spigot. Is it funny? Said the man. It is not, said Baby. My sister Eugenia recommended it to me. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not surprised that Eugenia does not recommend funny books. Eugenia does not seem like she would like funny books. She seems way too serious to like funny books. Would you care for a page from the comics? Said the man. Eugenia says the comics are a spectacular waste of time. The man in the fur hat laughed very loudly. Why, of course they are. He slapped his knee. He laughed some more. A spectacular waste of time. Absolutely, yes. That is exactly what they are. Bless them, he sneezed. He took out his handkerchief and blew his nose, and he chuckled. And then he turned with a very serious look on his face. You must read the comics, he said. I insist. The man unfolded the paper and handed Baby a page of the comics. To be polite, Baby took the page. She held it out in front of her and placed a finger under each word in the first comic, just as she had seen the man in the fur hat do. She glanced over at him. That's right, he said. Keep going. Baby looked at the pictures and read the words. In the first strip, there was a little man who had an antenna on his head and who spoke in a strange language that resembled English just enough that Baby could make sense of it. Boswat Mortack, I greet you, said the man with the antenna. The picture showed him bending over, smiling at a bug on the sidewalk. Definitely a strange-looking creature, like an alien. Baby read this and laughed. Boswat Mortack, she said out loud. Yes, said the man in the fur hat. Baby went on to the next comic, which featured a squirrel that was able to fly and that was engaged in fighting evil. This strip was not quite as funny, but it was deeply satisfying in some ridiculous way. A squirrel fighting evil? Baby smiled to herself as she read it. You see, said the man in the fur hat. I do, said Baby. Baby read the comics. She laughed. The man in the fur hat sat beside her, blowing his nose, nodding and smiling. Outside the train window, the world rushed by in a blur of green and gold and brown. And Baby was suddenly tremendously happy, just as she had been in her dream. I'm glad Baby's feeling much happier now. A little laughter can always do that. If you've not ever read the comics before in a newspaper, I encourage you to check those out with your parents. They're really fun. Lower Loring, shouted the conductor. Lower Loring. This is my stop, said the man in the fur hat. He stood. He lifted the hat off his head and bowed to Baby. It has been a pleasure, a delight, a revelation. It has been everything except a spectacular waste of time. Foswat Mortak, I bid you safe travels. Tell your sister Eugenia that I send her greetings, and tell her to laugh. Baby doubted that she would deliver this message to Eugenia, but she did think that she might start reading the comics on a regular basis. Goodbye, said Baby, and thank you. The man put the fur hat back on his head and lumbered down the aisle. He really did look very much like a bear. Baby heard him sneeze before he exited the train. And that is the end of chapter 4. Well, friends, I don't know about you, but I feel very happy that this part of the trip was very good for Baby. She got to laugh. She got to try something new reading the comics. And she met a really nice man on the train who ended up being just somebody that was good for her to talk to and that made her feel good. So, friends, it just goes to show you that you never know. Just having a simple conversation with someone can really turn things around for them. I hope that you have a fantastic day of e-learning, and I hope that you have a wonderful spring break. Talk to you soon, friends.